In 2 days, I'm going on holiday to Turkey. Finally, to rest. You're constantly on the go. Luckily, I've caught you in Vladikavkaz. To be honest, I'm shocked too. I will never forget the first time you came to me. I did a set for you for 3 hours, and the next time you said, Aisha, I have little time, I only have an hour and a half. Do what you want, but do it in 2 hours. That was the moment when I had to work fast, and after that, by the way, I started to lash faster. Hello everyone, this is Aisha Jagieva, an international top lash trainer, a sought-after specialist whose courses are in demand, who you can be proud of. The whole Republic is proud of you, and today I want to take a closer look at your personality. Let's start with the period when Aisha was a waitress. From a waitress to an international top lash trainer. Let's examine your path. How many years have you been in the industry? 7 years and a half to be exact. That is 7.5 years ago, you were a waitress. Actually, 10 years ago, I started my career as a waitress, worked there for 3 years and then got promoted. Worked there for another 2 years as a manager and only then switched to eyelashes. Let's say I dedicated 5 years of my life to the restaurant industry, and I did that with all my heart, but then cut it off and entered a completely different industry where I started from scratch. Why isn't it difficult to start all over again after you had achieved success in one field? To say it was difficult would be an understatement. At some point, I realized I didn't want to live like this. I didn't want to live on one salary. I didn't want to live and work for someone. Even if it is a very good person, though, I understood that I had reached the dead end. Every day was a Groundhog Day. Every day it was only the restaurant from morning to evening. I understood that I had really hit the ceiling in this business, and I understood that I knew everything about restaurants. I knew it in and out. I knew so much that I trained the entire staff. In the restaurant? Yes, at the restaurant. My training experience started at the restaurant because the administrator didn't want to do it. And I was the best waitress there. So she used to say, Aisha, please train your trainees. I don't have time. By the way, this is a talent. The ability to share experience is a talent. I know. And they tried to train all new trainees like me, so that everyone would be like me. So most often they delegated it to me. Back then I was naive. Of course, I said yes to everything, but it was a good experience that I got as a waitress working in that restaurant. I got the skill of training others, and at some point I realized that it was time to change my life. I wanted to grow further. I thought about what I wanted in my life. That's what I thought. How did you decide on the area? This is a different story. I was on my shift, my friend and I were drinking tea, the restaurant didn't open yet, and a waitress came in, and I saw there was something unusual on her eyes. I saw that it wasn't mascara. I looked at her and asked her, what did you do with your eyes? She said, I got eyelash extensions. I said, what did you do? Lash extensions? I knew that it's done to nails. I knew about hair extension, but lashes? What year was it? It was 2012, 2013. I remember that the first lash tags appeared in Vladikavkaz in 2007 or so. I tried it already in 2007. I think I heard about it in 2013. When I found out that there is such an industry, I thought, wow. Then I found out how much this service cost. And I realized that the cost of one set was twice as much as my income per day as a manager. My world fell apart. My old world was broken. Do you mean you had such a commercial approach to the occupation? At first, yes. Well, imagine your world is changing. Your old picture of the world has fallen into pieces. Of course, it was difficult to quit the job completely and start something new, but it would at least earn you more. There was at least some chance. And to be honest, that was the very first motivation that spurred me on. Then, when I got into the industry, my picture of the world changed completely because I saw that the industry is insanely deep. That is, I announced it in the restaurant, wrote a letter of resignation, and I said that I was going into the lash industry and that I said about this to my parents, friends, and relatives. I wonder if they supported you. Not a single person supported me, no one. How come, Aisha? How dare you? My mom told me that she wouldn't forgive me that I left such a well-paid, decent job. Tell me how much you earned in that well-paid job. 35,000 rubles. I was 23 years old. At 23, a well-paid job? Yes, I earned 2 times as much as my mom and my dad at that moment. Even my relatives, when they found out, God, she earned so much at 23, it was nonsense. But I worked really hard. I'm not afraid to work hard, and I worked from 9 a.m. to 1 a.m. and went to work when there was something urgent, something had to be done. I was always ready to support and come to work. And therefore, it varied from 30 to 35,000 for me, and at some point I really thought it was a really cool income. I was proud. How did your mother take that? How did she forgive you? How did they forgive me? They forgave me because at first I gave myself some time to adapt in the industry. I had saved some money, so I had a small safety net before going there into this industry. But my first safety net covered my materials, training, and rent, the first rent of the little room I worked in. So, the thesis of the day, the first of the thesis, the ability to save money is important, and you know how to save. Yeah. I'm not good at it. I wonder how people come to this. Well, back then, my main goal was to earn good money to help my mom. That is, I have such an attitude since my childhood that periodically motivated me to constantly work and constantly help. Because for some time my mother had 3 jobs. When I started at school, I understood that money had to be earned. It doesn't fall from the sky. And then I realized that I managed to earn good money, help my mom, and still have some money left. What did I do with it? I decided to save up. First, saved up for a car. I earned the money for the car in the restaurant, not even with lashes. It's just bravo, bravo. Honestly, it was like, I've never bought a car myself. I've always got cars as a present. Well, I don't know how to save money. It was an old car. I still remember it cost 150,000 rubles. I wasn't allowed to drive it because I didn't have a license. I bought a car without a license. How bold. And my parents didn't allow me to drive it, and they said I wouldn't drive it until I got the license. As a result, I got the license and I started driving. Lord, everyone in the car was scared when I was driving. Then I managed to buy another car, still working as a waitress. I didn't allow myself anything. I didn't have such a habit of allowing myself something or going somewhere. Daily spending is not your thing. No, I didn't do it. I didn't even spend anything on clothes or entertainment. My entertainment was to go to the gym 3 times a week. It was my best entertainment. There were no temptations, so I easily saved money. Then it comes easily. I don't understand. Let's just say I didn't know all these delights of going to restaurants, cafes. I didn't do anything like that then. So you can be called an achiever. You set a goal, you go to it, and nothing distracts you. Yes, that is, if there is a goal inside me and I'm obsessed with it, then I'll achieve it no matter what. I might hurt myself, but I will do it. Okay, I understand. You went to the lash industry, and by the way, I was one of Aisha's first clients at that time. Yes, I remember that year. I remember how you tried. I remember how you were involved in your work, and now I see you as a person who doesn't even have time to visit the Republic. You are so in demand all over the world. Do you think you quickly reached your goals in the lash industry? From that Aisha who had me for the first time at her studio to Aisha today. Looking back, I could say that I achieved everything easily and quickly. But it's not so. I remember my first 2-3 years in the industry. They were the hardest. I didn't have the speed. I didn't have that quality and level of work, that kind of fame, even in my town. Back then, I didn't even have a desire or a goal to go further. My goal was just to become a good lash tech in my city, Vladikavkaz, and to have a good base of regular clients. This was my biggest dream. The very first one. It took me 2.5 years to reach it. Did you think about the heights that you could reach? Not at all. I didn't even know that that was possible, but at that moment, when I reached the goal, I remember that moment. I woke up in the morning and opened my notebook to see appointments for 2 months ahead. The price for the set was 2,500, which was rather expensive for my city. That high price was my goal at that time. I woke up and I realized that the goal that I planned 2.5 years ago was fulfilled. I closed the notebook and thought, what should I do next? I asked myself the question, what next? You know when you opened one door, reached something, and the next door is about to open. And so I began to see the next doors one by one. At first I understood that I could improve my skills, that is, to study. But I had a small child, I lived in a city, and it was impossible to go somewhere far away, so I started organizing master classes myself. Not to visit them, but host them in my city in Ossetia. Did you borrow this idea, or did you come up with it yourself? Well, this idea came from hopelessness. You know, such an insight when you think, Lord, what do I do next? And when you're really looking for an answer, the brain itself gives you the answer. So it was like this. Why not host them here? They say lazy people are generators of new ideas. Yes, when we are lazy, we don't want to do everything ourselves. We want to come up with a simple solution. Yes, make life easier. That's right. I organized 5 or 6 masterclasses in my city. The first one helped me become popular in the city. I became more famous because everyone knew who Aisha was and where she came from. That was how you showed your expertise in the city. Well, I confirmed my reputation both as a technician and an organizer in the city. And then I thought, what's next? I started visiting championships and met colleagues from other cities. I subscribed to them on social media. I had no idea that there are championships in the lash industry. Yes, I am the winner of several championships. I took first prizes. I went to other cities to win prizes, to Krasnodar, to Nanchik. Did your husband support you when you left for championships? You worked, you had money, you had a little child. Why did you need to go to championships? How old was your kid? At that time, he was little. He was about 2 years old or even younger. My mother-in-law was very supportive. My mother-in-law and father-in-law were very supportive. They were head over heels with their grandson. It was their first grandchild for both families, so he got all the love, all the attention and warmth. Did anyone ask you to quit and be a good mom? No, there was no such thing. When I just told my husband that I wanted to develop, there was a prospect of going to a championship or going to a neighboring city to get advanced training. He never told me no, not even once. So, do you have a modern family? No, a usual one. We're a usual family. There is nothing different. I don't see any difference. It's just that I began to realize how open my husband was to my prospects. I realized that later. I didn't realize it before. I thought, well, I took it for granted. Everything is relative. Yes, I just came to him and said, you know, there is an event for 2 days. Also, I'm a very organized person, so before I went somewhere, I prepared everything for my son, so that my husband and my mother-in-law would be comfortable, so that even if I wasn't home for 2 days, the world wouldn't stop. It wouldn't happen while I was away for 2 days. They understood that, and after several trips, everyone got relaxed, everyone was comfortable, but then I started liking it. I'd say championships were just the beginning, because when you receive your first cup, when you are on the stage, they announce your name, Aisha takes the first prize in this or that nomination. You hold this cup and it's as if the next door opens for you. I thought, Lord, how is that possible? That is, with each new victory, some new small step, the industry attracted me more and more. I no longer had the thought to try something new. Back then, you know, it felt like greed. It wasn't enough for me. I wanted more and more. I didn't know when to stop. I remember your story about how you got onto the plane for the first time. It's just symbolic. It resonated with my heart when you said that when you flew abroad, you flew to Moscow, it was your first time on an airplane. It's like a sign that a person themselves is responsible for their own destiny. I watch your steps in life with such, great admiration. You're great. Please tell me, how many countries have you visited so far? 22 countries. 22 countries. In just 3 years, you have visited 22 countries as an expert, not as a tourist. I'll be honest, in 2 days, for the first time in my life, I will fly abroad as a tourist to Turkey. You worked. Yeah, in all these 22 countries, I visited different cities. I've been to some countries 10 times, but in different cities, I've been to 10 cities in France, about 9 or 10 for sure. When I start to count, I understand that I have visited all these countries only thanks to my work. That is, as a tourist, I would never go to some places, for example, Colombia. Where Colombia is and where I am, I lived in Vladikavkaz or some other remote countries. When I think about it, I'm amazed. Sometimes I don't even believe that I did it myself. 22 countries in more than 40 cities of the world. Tell us about your first country and fears. God, I was terrified. To go alone? No, I flew with my sister for the first time, but I had a lot of barriers. First, I didn't have an international passport. I'd never been abroad. I'd never flown by plane. I'd never been even to Moscow. Never. That was 3.5 years ago. I got an invitation to go abroad on Instagram. I read the invitation, I looked at it, and I thought, what did you text me? Did you know English? No, I didn't know the language at all. I didn't know English at all at that time. Nothing. Hello, how are you? Was the most I could say. I looked at the invitation and I understood that I had got a giant chance that could change my life. I felt it because I began to shiver from those messages. And I asked the organizer 3 times, do you want to invite me, Aisha from Vladikavkaz? Are you sure? She said, yes, Aisha, we're waiting for you. Please come here. We will organize everything for you. We will do everything. I was shocked. I told my husband about it. My husband didn't believe. He looked at me. Are you seriously going there? I said, yes. Can you believe it? I'm shocked. I can't believe it myself. And we looked at each other, but the first thought that I had was, do it, Aisha. Do what you can. Fly there. Do your best, but do it. Sell your husband's kidney. Yes, my husband's kidney. I just got a visa. I was looking for opportunities. It was very difficult to get a visa because I didn't have an international passport before. It was a new clean passport. It was difficult to get a Schengen visa to Europe. I was invited to Europe. So the first country I went to was Belgium, Brussels, which is the capital of the European Union. Only when I arrived there did I realize what I was. When I was on the plane, it was like a dream. I was flying in the clouds. I got on a plane for the first time. I flew to Moscow airport. I looked around. Where did I get to? That's a different world. And every time something new happened to me, be it a new plane, a new airport, my picture of the world began to expand even more. And then I got on the plane. I flew through the Netherlands to Brussels. And Lord, when I was on the plane, they served me a meal. I had a meal on the plane. I was wondering whether it was included or would I have to pay for it. So you hadn't thought about it before, right? I didn't even know about such things, about such options in life, that you can order food on a plane, choose between business or economy class. I didn't know anything about the world at all. I was flying straight to Europe. In theory, any Lash tag first becomes popular in their city, then in their country, then outside the country. It turned out that I became popular in the city, then in the Republic, and then skipped the country stage and ended up in foreign countries. If you get a chance, what do you do with this chance? Right, it's whether you are scared, doubt the chance, or take the bull by the horns. Yes, at that moment I took it. Despite my fear, I got a visa. My sister did so too because it was very scary to fly alone. I didn't know the language. I didn't know anything. How did your sister help you? Just support so that I wouldn't be alone. But then I went on next 20 trips alone. Aisha, why are you so often invited for training abroad? It seems to us that everything is much better abroad than here. Why do they need a trainer from Vladikavkaz? It is so, except for eyelashes, because Russia is the leader today. The leader in eyelash extensions. We are number 1, then the CIS countries. We are the best. Again, we're the best in everything. Yes, it's Russia, no doubt. No matter how they hate us, we are the best again. 1,000 technicians would come here to study if they had a chance, but there is no such opportunity. That's why they invite techs from here. That is my strategy, which I had 3 years ago, works, but now is the other way around. They invite me. And when you arrive, they look up at you. Do they have a low level? Speaking of eyelashes, it's pretty low because they didn't have, there wasn't such a competition as we had. They didn't have such training, such specialists who developed the industry. They didn't have it back then. Now, of course, everything changes because everyone wants to be famous like Russian techs. Many get motivated and start organizing events and setting the bar high. According to the statistics by Vogue, it is Russian women who more often use beauty services than the rest of the world. It is Russia in general. In all beauty spheres, they get services and manicure much more often, and apparently eyelash techs and hairdressers are more popular here too. As you said, competition is stiff and products are better. Yes, best product, best service, and it's the quality of service that was not enough. Because in our case, in eyelashes, the technique is important. It's how you do it right, it's high quality, it's aesthetics, retention, it's happy, beautiful girl who can forget about makeup for a month. Let's say eye makeup at least. So when I arrived, people were like, oh my God, Aisha, you came to us, geez. That's how they reacted to me. I looked at them and I thought I was an ordinary person. I don't have some kind of, a big ego. I went there and communicated with them, and I understood that a lot of things were behind the time. And they didn't have a good range of beauty services, qualification trainings. And that's exactly why Russian technicians have always been in demand, and the best specialists in foreign countries, guess who? Russians who left a long time ago or moved either from the CIS countries or somewhere else. Oh, I see now. They immigrated and their craving for beauty makes them earn money. Yes, that's right. Aisha, in general, there is a huge difference between the ability to be motivated and to be jealous. There are two sides of the same coin. When we see the desired object, some people become broken, angry, but some get motivated. I see you don't know how to envy others. I'd say from time to time I see, for example, that someone has a cool car, someone else has something else, someone lives the life you dream of, or I dream of. And even in my industry, from other countries, I see people who have such a thing. And at first I think, am I such a bad specialist or such a bad trainer that I don't earn so much? I mean, I think if she succeeded, why can't I succeed? It's not that she's worse or better than me, but first I really think about this. Oh, you don't take her personality into account. Yeah, for the first few seconds I think, damn, she must be so cool, better than me. But then I think, what the heck? I'm sitting here doing nothing. Well, I should stand up and try. You kind of kick yourself. Yes, you should kick yourself and think, if this person could do it. Well, I see the situation clearly. Some people who have achieved more success than me started a couple of years before me. In a couple of years, I'm likely to be like them. Have you ever been so disappointed when you really wanted to cry? Honestly, the first time I felt it when I was at a championship. At the first championship I took part in, I told the whole city, all my relatives, that I was going there. And one girl went along with me. She said, take me with you. I also want to go there. And I helped her with everything. I bought tickets for her, organized everything. And when I arrived in that city, I didn't win a single prize. Absolutely not a single prize. I had spent money, I brought models, I organized everything, I didn't get anything. And the girl who came with me took the third or fourth prize in the championship. And I thought, Lord, does it still hurt to talk about it? It was very disappointing. It's not that something was wrong with her, that she was bad, she won it, but I didn't. But it was that, I aimed too high. Did you beat yourself up? Yes, I began to beat myself up that I didn't succeed and all that stuff. But then I thought, well, I won't give up. I still want first prize and I still want this cup. I want to see this cup in my office, even if it's just a piece of metal, but I want it. If I want something, it's hard to calm me down. What's your zodiac sign? I'm a Sagittarius. In my childhood, my mother had some book on astrology and I used to read it again and again. I still remember my forecast up to 2000 something. That book had forecast in it. It seems you've been looking for something all the time. I've listened to your whole story about life, and it seems you've been looking for a formula for success. That's what I've heard, as if you've been trying to figure out the formula for success. Did I get it right? Yes, I learn from people who are much, much more successful than me. I will never learn from a person who's not successful at all or isn't an expert. That's stupid. Well, maybe there are trainers who say, I'm so cool, come to sit with me. No, I go to people because I wonder how they have achieved this. Maybe they do what I can't do, or they know what I don't know. I start looking for it, there is a clear sequence. I understand that every time I learn something new, there is also a certain part in my life or some aspect that changes for the better. In the family, at work, in business, online, it doesn't matter. It can be in travel. Long story short, my goal is to live the life of my dreams. Do you know what this life looks like? Yes. Do you see this picture? Yes, I do. It's important. It's very important. There is a picture. I'm driving a cool car to my house, a 3-story house with a pool, and then I think, I need something else. That's certainly ambitious. It's a kind of an American dream, but why not? You are number one in the number of trips abroad. How do you combine it with your family, with your husband, with your child? I have 3 children, and it's hard for me to say that I'm a great mother. My occupation is so diverse, and in fact, I spend much time away from home. Do you ever beat yourself up for that a little? Oh, this is all about women. Honestly, on every trip, when I go somewhere, I'm always worried for my son. I think that I'm the best mother for my son. I do think so. Now I consciously approach both the upbringing and the organization of his life. I understand that today I'm giving him everything I have, all the best. Now we are even going to Turkey for him, to take him to the sea, not myself. I thought about myself later. The first thing that I had in my mind was to show him what else I can give. That is, if we constantly think that we are bad, we will not live our lives, we will not fully actualize ourselves as mothers. Now, of course, I have a balance. I found this balance, but before there was no balance, and it was very difficult to juggle everything because I could be away from home for weeks. Is Vladikavkaz your home? My home is Vladikavkaz, yes. Anyway, my parents, my relatives, my friends live in Vladikavkaz, as well as my husband and my son. That's why my home is here. At first, there was a possibility for my husband to go with me. Did you offer him to go with you? Yes, of course, I offered the whole family. I wanted to take my son to fly together, but my husband has an aerophobia. He doesn't fly at all. If we need to go, for example, to Moscow, we go by car. That is, we don't fly by plane. This is the first reason. I respect his decision and the reason he doesn't want to do it. That's why I had never taken a plane before to go on holiday. It is, I didn't allow myself to do so because I thought that I could do it only if it was necessary for work. I work there, don't go there to rest. So when I went there, it was okay as my husband understood that I was going there not to have fun, but to work. So we had a very good understanding of this. The only thing is that I felt bad inside that I didn't devote enough time to my son, but what I did was I started to delegate. Can motherhood be delegated? No, I didn't delegate motherhood. I didn't delegate my son, but everything related to work. First, I fired myself as a technician from my own studio. The second thing I did, I fired myself from the offline business. I taught offline in Ossetia. I decided to quit it, hired other trainers. They taught more classes. I freed up more time. Then I was looking for another way to work, but not physically, and make good money at the same time. So I went online. So now, right now, I'm here with you, but my team is working, they are selling my courses, and I'm given an interview, and I'm earning money sitting here with you. This is my best project, the best solution, because I don't work physically, but at the same time, there are people who gladly work in my team, and we're working on the same goal: help people take quality courses in different languages. And now my school provides courses in 4 languages. Have you freed up time for the child by now? As much as I could. As a result, now I spend much more time with my son and with my husband than before. I spent 1 year to achieve this. Was that your goal too? Yes. Have you realized what you've achieved? Yes. Because my husband understood, accepted everything, but at the same time there was no criticism that I was constantly doing something. My son's grandparents have always been by our side. They helped and supported us a lot, and I'm very grateful for this to my parents and my husband's parents. because they supported me very much. So when I realized that I'd already visited 20 countries, I slowed down a little. So did you start to say no? Yes, first I chose which countries I want to go to. If before I went anywhere where they would invite me, be it good or bad country, cool or not, then now I choose. Do you have a radar? Of course, now my radar is much more expensive than a year ago. Now I earn more, but I work less. It was my goal. I have not yet reached perfection. I understand that this is still a goal that I need to go to, but by now, let's say I've done a good job. You know, Aisha, judging by your stories, it seems that you can't relax. You always do something. I'm a control freak. Yes, you have your finger on the pulse, everything is under control. How do you rest? You know, now everyone's talking about replenishing energy resources. Have you found a balance in this? No, I'm still learning. I mean, when I need some kind of balance or rest, I study. Buy courses and study. I mean, I spend a lot of money on courses. Trainings? Yes. What is the most unusual course you've bought for yourself? For example, I once took a self-love course. It was an American marathon course where I just learned to visualize, meditate, all these things. What else? Recently, I took a course on how to stay in touch with yourself and perfect myself, be self-sufficient, and not to ask others, can you go with me? Not to seek recognition. Yes, to recognize myself. That is, I'm just trying to learn because there I find a source, a source of motivation that constantly feeds me, the main source. That is the life that I want to live. I can also rest. Speaking of such basic things, I'm resting when I'm driving, for example. When washing dishes, yes, when I do the dishes or do basic things like that. When I just sit on the sofa and watch cartoons with my son. I'm also resting right now, but I don't have that feeling, the need for rest, because I delegate the most difficult things in my life and I enjoy the rest of what I do. That is, I don't think that I'm tired when I work, that I work hard. There is no such thing. It's in the past. Yes, I dreamed of having my own business and not working physically at the age of 30. You've already found the way for yourself. You've told us about all the open doors. Will you share more with us? First of all, of course, to live the life that I dream of, for example, living somewhere abroad, buy a house and move there. What country? I like Italy, I like France, but it's more expensive to live in France compared to Italy. They don't like us now. No, that's not true. Recently I was in France, everything's okay. Honestly, everyone was very friendly. Do you have a warm welcome everywhere in Europe? To be honest, yes. Be it in my blog, in social networks, anywhere, I always feel a friendly attitude from Europe. I have a feeling that Europe attracts me. Just imagine, well, you just can't be lucky 20 times and receive an invitation from Europe 20 times. You just can't. It can't be just luck. It's not, from Vietnam or anywhere else. By the way, I've got invitations from Vietnam too. By the way, do you teach in Russian or English? I work only with a translator. I have given courses abroad in more than 14 languages. I teach in Russian. I don't know foreign languages. I didn't know languages at all. That's why after I got into several unpleasant situations abroad, I realized that that's the shame. It's time to learn a foreign language. I started learning the basic level so that I could communicate at airports and hotels, to make a reservation, to buy a ticket, or ask for directions. I joined a course to learn the basics. But when I was in Colombia 4 months ago, delegations from Great Britain arrived. And I arrived with a delegation from Russia. Then delegations from other countries arrived too. Delegations from all over the world gathered in one place. And when I heard that everyone at the table was speaking English and I didn't understand even half of that, I felt ashamed. Aisha, you're a top-class specialist, but you don't know the language. After that, a girl from the British delegation invited me to her conference, and I told her, my dear, I will speak at your conference in 2 months without an interpreter. And she was like, what do you mean? Don't you need a translator? I said, no, I will learn my speech by heart. You set a goal. Yes, I set a goal, and 2 months later, I spoke at her conference without an interpreter. To be honest, I can't really believe it if you didn't speak the language, but you prepared for it in 2 months. I learned it with a teacher every day. I mean, you didn't know the basics. I communicated with natives. Look, I was talking to a native speaker, well, a British person with British pronunciation. I started copying his pronunciation in order to remember it and practiced with him. That is, I communicated with him every day. I was lucky that I had a lot of practice. I learned and at the same time practiced a lot. Well, I get the impression that you are just an excellent student who, if does something, then does it well. I'd say I'm too determined, too ambitious. Well, it doesn't happen like that. Sometimes we make mistakes in life. We regret some things. What do you regret in life? All right. Well, before I started doing lashes, I never traveled. I didn't allow myself such things. On the one hand, I saved up money, saved up for a car. It's really cool. But on the other hand, I didn't see the world as a tourist. That's what I regret. What bothered you? Nothing got in the way, actually. We all grew up in the same republic. I worked hard, and with my salary, it was possible to save enough in a couple of months to go to Turkey or somewhere else. I regret not doing this earlier. I didn't discover it for myself before. I didn't start learning the language. You didn't tell us what you're aiming at after all. What is your next goal? My goal is to be #1 in the world. And when will you give birth to a second child? Ah, here we go again. I, as a mother of 3, have the right to ask them. I feel like I'm ready for it now. You have started delegating. At that moment, when I caught myself thinking that I delegated everything, I realized that now I have enough time for the family. Now I'm ready. If you had asked me about it a year ago, or even at least 6 months ago, I would have said no. But now, yes, now I can. Well, are you going to move or stay here? Our city is changing. Here are a lot of new people. I work with new people in the city. They always know these changes. Do you see them? I'll be honest, yes, I haven't been here for a year. I lived in Moscow. When I came back, I understood that something was different here. Here are a lot of new places, even the place where we are in now. I understand that this is a very good place. Today, for the first time, I'm here. I realize what a cool place it is, this restaurant, such a view. This place is the gem of the city. When I saw it today, I was stunned. Well, Vladikavkaz is beautiful at night. Just imagine this place at night. A lot of people come here. Well, honestly, even my friends who live in Moscow often go to Petigorsk. They visited me here when I was here, and they really like it here because the air is better here, people are different, and Lord, when I returned from Moscow, it was my first day. My son and I ate only local bread. My mother-in-law brought us a loaf of bread, and we just cut it and ate it. We just wolfed it down, but in fact, the taste of food is really very different. Muscovites recently came to me and I ordered a pie with the cheese for them. I cut the pie and the cheese started leaking. They said, "Lord, the cheese is leaking." They had never eaten a warm pie. I was happy to see that. And do you take our pies with you to Europe? No, it's impossible. I should take myself there. No, of course not. When I go to Europe, I switch. I'm a European person there. You know, Aisha, beauty technicians are now leaving for Dubai. I know for sure that they are moving there after some Russians have already moved to Dubai. And now the nail industry, lash and makeup artists are all moving and opening their businesses there because there is a lot of demand for it right now. Have you thought about it? It's such a relevant advice to you from me. I have already consulted with a lawyer, consulted with 2 lawyers on starting a business in Dubai. You know, for me, this is very relevant. If I launch a brand of products, I will need a point in Europe or in some other country, not in Russia anyway, but it's very expensive to open a business, say, in the United States, for example, while the income is the same. Yes, and it's very expensive to open your business there, and you have to move to Dubai to open a business there. And now I'm thinking about how and when I can squeeze life in Dubai into my schedule, taking into account the fact that you want to give a birth to another child in the next 5 years. Yes, the child, some personal issues, other business trips, and I'll give you one more door that you can open. American Vogue recently wrote an article about an African-American girl. She's a resident of America. She's a nail technician. They wrote about her level of expertise, how incredible she is, but the nails she does are awful. It is the technique that we've talked about. We put technique at the first place here, but they described her work as a masterpiece. And this is not compatible with what our texts usually do in an average salon. So it's important that they write an article about you in Vogue, but only in the American one. Yeah, that's a good motivation. An article in American Vogue would be cool. I hope we will discuss it in the next interview. Okay, let's do it. Oh, how beautiful it is here. Yeah. Aisha, who earns more in the family? I do. Does it interfere with your relationship? No. You have an ideal marriage because quite often all the problems come from the development of the wife, the success of the woman that your husband cannot forgive. How does this affect the relationship? We will talk about your marriage. Sorry. If we are talking about income, then at some point I really started to earn more than my husband. And I heard a lot of stories from colleagues about my trips, my business trips, that my husband and I had a fight because I earned more and we got divorced. Once I had a conversation with my colleagues during which they asked me directly, Aisha, doesn't your husband mind that you earn more? I was lost for words. I didn't know what to say. I don't know. I really don't know. He has never raised this topic and I have never raised this topic either. And after that business trip, I returned home and told my husband that I was asked this question. I asked what he thought about the fact that I earned more. He said, well, someone should make good money in the family, but it was a joke, but he's absolutely okay with this. Why? Well, because he likes what he does. What he does is enough for him. Of course, you always want to earn more, but based on where he lives and what he does, he makes good money. He makes good money in Ossetia. That is, he's also found something he enjoys. Yes, well, if there is an opportunity for one of us to earn money, why not? It's still not like that I earn all that we have and I'm proud of it and I'm throwing money into his face like that. It means that you don't get carried away because no matter how much you deny it, but it's still a true story that a woman who starts to earn a lot, really a lot, starts to go beyond the husband-wife relationship. After all, in our republic, in our region, a wife is still an extension of your husband, and we always put the decision in the hands of the husband. And when we earn enough, not even more than them, then we begin to be independent in terms of economic and material independence. We stop being proper Ossetian women. Let's put it this way. Well, I've thought about it. Well, on the one hand, when there is someone in the family who earns good money, this is good. It doesn't matter if it is the husband or the wife. What's more, it's important how we feel about it and whether we violate the boundaries or not. There were such cases when I approached my husband and we really argued on this topic, when I could break his boundaries, violate his boundaries and say, you don't earn that much because we needed to buy something, we didn't have enough money, let's do something, I said. And at that moment, let's be honest, I didn't mind my own business. I didn't understand this before, but now I do understand this because this is not an adult behavior. When I realized that even thinking that something was wrong with my husband's money, I was no longer in my role. I was not in my place. Evaluating his earnings, you don't already behave like a wife anymore. Yeah, after giving marks, I will face consequences in the form of scandals, arguments, quarrels, and everything else. Do I need it? Then I answer this question to myself and understand that, in fact, we have enough money. Then why should I start nagging? So my complaints just disappear. Do you play the role of a wife? Do you cook, lay the table, meet him after work, iron his shirts? Of course I do, but I'm in the role of his wife. I'm not his mom. Now, I don't have the habit to text my husband and ask where he is. I never ask about it. Did you do it before? I did. Now, I don't ask at all because only your mother asks you where you are. She can ask him where he is, but I don't. Because if he is with his friends, then he is with his friends. This is his time. If he's at home with me. And when I set boundaries for myself that money is money, friends are friends, and at home we're family, and we only discuss family issues. I don't discuss his friends with him, and he doesn't discuss my friends with me. We don't discuss such topics. Since I started doing this myself, he pulled himself together, and as a result, we are only a wife and a husband, and that's all. I'm not his mom, I'm not his daughter. How long have you been married? Well, it's about 7 years, 7.5. Have you already experienced moments of crisis? Sure, because there are arguments in any family. This is normal. What kind of family it is if there are no quarrels? Only if they have no personal opinions. That's for sure. But I just recently got these insights. I've done a lot of trainings on this topic. When something didn't suit me, I didn't file for divorce. I took courses. I took courses on how to build harmonious relationships, how, for example, to find contact in the family, to find a balance, how to make it so that you have balance in all areas of your life. I was looking for this. I wanted a breakthrough in my relationship and, first of all, make myself happy. Well, we are searching for balance. I speak for all women who are actualizing themselves as people and as entrepreneurs. I'll ask you this question. When you're away, how often do you call your family when you are leaving for work? Not very often. Well, you're away for 3 days. Will you call? Once or twice maximum. Well, we text each other more often than call, because if I go away, I text him, I've arrived, everything's fine, I don't worry. These are not control calls, right? Yes, it's just in the evening when I'm in the hotel, he's at home, I call him, he shows me the child, we chat and laugh, just like that. That is, it's not that I need to call him every day. Why? So he supports you as much as possible and you have a good connection. If I went away to have fun, then of course the story would be completely different, to be honest. Never tried. Yes, I've never tried, so I don't know. Like I'm going to Dubai with the girls for my birthday. No, never. It was very painful, for example, when I was worried, when I achieved something in the business, I began to understand that I was losing the support of my close people. Friends with whom I've been together for many years since school, but they were my achievements that backfired with such negativity, but not support. Sometimes it was, if not aggression, then I'd say a kind of anger. Hate? Yes, and then later I found out that the initiators were my close people, whom I'm considered friends. I lost many people on the way to my success. So I often hear from many that they've had such situation. Can you relate? Nope. But it's not that I don't know what it is. Judging by social media, there is always one friend of yours by your side. Yes, one friend. I have few close friends, but if they are my friends, we have been friends for at least 10 years. How have you kept this balance? First of all, I have been honest with them. I'm an honest person myself, but it also might probably be my attitude. Let's put it in this way. Even if a person is negative to me, it motivates me to grow. That's how I think about it. That is, I already had a similar situation, not with a close friend, but with a close colleague from our industry and from our city. We had a conflict. The reason of the conflict was real nonsense. Something said something wrong to someone else, which caused misunderstanding, and accordingly this conflict began. Well, I succumbed to that feeling and then we quarreled on the topic. And despite the fact that that was my colleague and we were in the same industry, there was hatred and aggression between us, not only on her part but also on mine. There was such a period. But when I started to analyze what happened and how happened, I felt only gratitude to her because thanks to our conflict, I doubled my progress. And if it hadn't been for our competition and feud, I might not even have grown. Professionally. Yes, professionally, but as a person too. I want to say that any person who comes into our life teaches us something. I agree with you. They teach us something. These people who we meet, they teach us something. When their time is over, they go away in a good or bad way. And now I feel only gratitude to them. I went to my old school just yesterday, and I used to think that I didn't like my school because I was hated at school too. That's where I had no friends. What school did you go to? I studied in another republic. In another republic? Where did you study? In Kabrda. When I was at school, I was such a typical outcast, a black sheep, a real black sheep. Why were you bullied? Why did they hate you? Well, firstly, I was from a very poor family. I could wear the same pair of jeans for 3 or 4 years until they were torn. The holes in them were sewn up and I continued to wear them. I really came from a poor family, plus I have a bad eyesight. And back then, I didn't wear contact lenses like now or even glasses. We didn't have money for such expenses, let's say for such luxury. So I squinted very hard and a lot. So I didn't dress really well. I mean, I dressed neatly, but it was obvious that those were old, worn out clothes. It was noticeable. When I was in the 11th or 10th grade, I started earning some money during school holidays and buying something for myself. But I didn't have many opportunities. If my relatives gave me something good, I was very happy about it. But even now I understand that after so many years, it's only made me stronger. And now I understand that if I had grown up in comfort, maybe I wouldn't have achieved such results. This is how I see it now. What was your first job when you were at school? A janitor. A janitor? Yeah, I worked as a janitor at the factory. They hired me as a janitor. I swept the floors. I was 13 years old. How long did you work? Was it a short-term job? I worked there all summer, earned my first salary of 3,000 rubles and bought a color TV for our family. You bought a color TV, so you didn't buy yourself an outfit? No, I bought a color TV to home. We didn't have a TV. The next summer I bought a DVD player. I had saved for it too. Wow, I have goosebumps now, Aisha. Who motivated you as a child? What motivated you? Well, first of all, I wanted to change my life because I knew that I was not living my life. Well, how did you realize that? If you didn't see an example of this in life, did you see it on TV or neighbors? Where did you see that? I saw how hard my mother worked. It motivated me very much. I didn't want her to work so hard. I wanted to help. This was the first big motivation. Secondly, I realized that money can solve a lot of problems, and I realized that I needed to earn more. And thirdly, I was probably motivated by animations. One of the first animation movies that motivated me to be the main character of my life was Mulan. I love this animation too. I love it, and I first saw it when I was 9. I watched and thought, what I need to do to become a 1 in a million girl. That's what I thought at the age of 9, and for some reason, it seems to me that my time has started now, not when everyone lived happily in their 20s. I didn't live my life back then, but I do now. My personal opinion is that the ability to dream is the first step to achieving goals. I want you to give advice on where to start to young people who are in search. Know what you want. How to understand it? This is the most difficult thing to understand. I communicate with people a lot, and they often complain about the inability to understand what they want. This is a very deep question. I probably won't answer it in one word, but I think that deep down, everyone feels what they want. Be it a better life, a good car, a good house, or a lot of money. Okay, if you want it, ask yourself how you can achieve it. What do you need to do to achieve it? Make a plan. Yes. Now, it is professionally called to devise a plan and make a decomposition of the goal, right? But we should not decompose all the goals that we dream of, but at least set a more realistic goal. Well, you want money. Okay. If you want money, set a realistic goal. How much do you want, right? Yes, ask yourself the question how much money you want, and then the question how you can do it. The secret is to do it anyway. Start doing something to understand what you're capable of. If you want success, then doing something for it is equal to success. That is, in general, doing something is equal to the result, but success is also a result. Just do it. Just do it. Make mistakes and do it again. Yes, this is actually a very good experience when you make mistake. You understand and analyze your mistakes and then move on. Who can decide for you what's best for you? Only you yourself when you work on your mistakes. Yeah, sure. Sure. The most important question of today, what do you focus on when you set a goal? And generally, what is your guideline? Well, my first goal is to always be the best, to be number 1. There is something inside that always pushes me to develop, not to stop. Secondly, if you feel that you have hit some kind of ceiling, change it. There should be no limits because human potential has no limits. Therefore, believe in yourselves. Set goals that really drive you. Well, I've shared my goal. I want to be number 1. It drives me so much that I don't want to stop. Just push the gas and go. So find such a goal. It does exist in you. You just haven't found it yet. So meditate, visualize, and it will work out. and be ready to win. Thank you, Aisha. I'm very glad that you found time for us. I know that you're having a flight soon. Have a good flight. I wish you new achievements, new victories, and we are proud of you. Thank you very much, dear. I'm very flattered. Thank you, and thanks to everyone who's watched us.